Tonight, our first speaker is Celeste. Help me welcome Celeste to the stage.
So nervous. Celeste alcoholic. My sobriety date is June 20th, 2018. I just got 9 months last month. Got my chip tonight. I have a home group. It's called On the Floor, Meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have a sponsor sitting here tonight. I'm a high-bottom drunk. I never drank every day. I didn't really get in trouble with the law. And for all of my drinking, I was going to school. First in high school, started drinking and using when I was 15. And then I was in college. And going into college, I knew that I would have to slow my roll if I was going to graduate. And I came into college and I was like, okay, what am I going to do to get by? And so what that looked like for me was I did a lot of Adderall to pass my classes, and then on the weekends I'd party a little bit, smoke a little bit of weed, and then by the time summer rolled around, summer after my freshman year of college, I was like ready to go. I was like, I need to go on a bender right about now. And so I was working at a pool supply store in Bakersfield, California. If any of you guys know that place, don't go there. And I was trying to save up money so that I could go to Thailand with my friend. And that summer I worked full time and spent every single penny I earned on drugs and alcohol. Not alcohol so much because I mostly stole that, but I remember one time I was high and I was freaking out. I was like, what am I doing with my life? I told myself I was going to save up money so I could go on this trip, and I'm not, and I'm a drug addict. I can't stop doing it. And when I came down from the high, I brushed it off, and by the end of the summer I was really broke, but I went back to school and did the same thing over again, a lot of Adderall, passed my classes, drank on the weekends. The following summer I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this again. I can't go back home because that's where all my friends are, and that's why I was drinking and using the way I was. So I decided to move to Wisconsin and be a sea kayaking guide on Lake Superior. And that was pretty fun. I got to go outside every day, which is what I love to do, and I thought that that would help me to stop drinking, and it didn't. I made a bunch of friends who loved alcohol as much as I did, and one night I was raped while I was drunk, and that changed my life. That was a pivotal moment. At the time, I had a boyfriend that I cared about a lot, and I obviously didn't want to be raped ever again. And so I told myself, I'm done, and I was. That was the day I got sober, or the next day I was sober, and I was torn apart. I was still hanging out with the same people that I was hanging out with before. I just decided I wasn't going to be drinking. And 2 days later, me and my friend went over to her drug dealer's house, and I was like, oh, it's okay, I can go to a drug dealer's house and be sober still, right? And he offered us some weed, and I was this close to smoking weed, and I was like, whoa, I just had this life-changing experience where I wasn't able to set boundaries for myself, and I don't ever want to not be able to set boundaries for myself ever again. Yet I still am considering putting drugs and alcohol into my body, and that's when I knew I needed help beyond myself. And so I called up a friend who's in the program. He lives in Prescott, and he was like, okay, I'll help you find a meeting. And so he called the intergroup office in Wisconsin, and this really nice older woman who was a baker, she like came to my house and picked me up and drove me to a meeting, buttfuck nowhere of Wisconsin. And there were 4 people at the meeting, and they all went around the table. They were like introduced themselves as alcoholics, and it got to me, and I was like, do I have to say I'm an alcoholic? And they were like, no, but we strongly encourage that you do. And so I said, I'm Celeste, I'm an alcoholic, and I was like, on the inside I was like, oh my God, I lied. Like, what the fuck am I doing? And so I like called up my friend that night, and I was like crying on the phone. I was like, dude, they made me say I was an alcoholic. Like, I can't do this on my own, but like I don't want to say I'm an alcoholic every time I go to a meeting. It's not true. And they were like, well, do you think that you would be having this much resistance towards saying that if you weren't an alcoholic? Like, I could just not drink right now and I'd be fine. And I was like, oh, maybe I am an alcoholic. And so I practiced saying it on the phone to them. I was like, I'm Celeste, I'm an alcoholic. I'm Celeste, I'm an alcoholic. And eventually it finally sunk in, and I still didn't go to meetings right away. I ended up moving back to Prescott that summer because I didn't want to work with the person who raped me. And I came back to Prescott, and about a month after I got sober, I went to this meeting, actually. I heard Greg with 2Gs speak, and that meeting changed my life. I found a sponsor, and the first thing that my sponsor had me do was write like a drunk-a-log of all the things that I had done when I was drinking, and I realized that I really am an alcoholic. I have a lot of evidence, and even though I'm only 20 years old, I've only been drinking and using for 5 years, I have enough evidence to stop. And I know that if I don't stop, or I know that when I do stop, I obsess over alcohol nonstop, and that's not something that normal people do. I don't need to get to the point where I get drunk every single night before I need to call it quits. And I'm a lot freer now. I recently wrote a bucket list of all the things I want to do with my life, and it was really cool because I realized that on the bucket list there's like a lot of weird things, like jumping out of an airplane and like learning how to make cheese on my own, and hiking a mountain that's higher than 14,000 feet. And those are the types of stories that I want to tell my grandkids someday. It's not the stories of me sitting holed up in someone's house that I don't really know and, you know, doing lines of coke and drinking until late hours of the night. I get kind of caught up in my head a lot of times that like my story isn't cool enough, or that I like didn't drink enough in order to be here. And I've like come to terms with the fact that I don't need any better stories to tell about the times when I was drinking. I don't have any good stories to tell about the times that I was drinking, not because I didn't drink enough, but because I wasn't doing cool things when I was drinking. I was drinking. It wasn't like I was jumping out of airplanes drunk. People don't really do that. I guess, yeah. And so I'm like in this process now of shedding these layers of myself. I feel like there's kind of this like shadow side of me that is really angsty and wears a lot of black eyeliner and drinks and uses on my own, and like chain smokes cigarettes, and like then there's this other side of me that's like really vivacious and colorful and wants to do things that are on my bucket list. And parting ways with that side of myself that is holding me back from realizing my dreams is one of the scariest experiences I've ever had. It's so raw and so real. I don't think that it's not comfortable to do that, but it's what I need to do. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got. Thanks, guys.